It's a great pleasure to be here. I've been here many times at Federal University of São Paulo, Unifesp, and the relationship with Luis, it goes beyond just research. We're good friends from the time we started together in London. But I think he's a master plan. He has some design, you see? He has André, he has Eleonora. Where is she? It's me, has stuff, and I know there's some other collaborators, but he is the guy pulling everybody. Say, oh, do this, do that. So, but the bottom line is there's so much development in this Center for Study on Aging. So I'm very delighted to be here. More importantly, to talk about this topic. If I could say anything, this morning somebody sent me a WhatsApp with this little slide, and it was so important, so significant what I saw, even though it's silly. It was a funny thing. It was a line of cows trying to cross the street in England on the countryside, and there was a white line like a marker for pedestrian walk. So every time the cows saw the white line, they jump. And they jump one after the other. A lot of difficulty jumping. Just a line you could just walk through, right? So what that means that we create barriers that don't exist, especially in evaluation, because we do not see. We look, but we don't see. You've got that? So the perception, death perception of cows force them to do that. So what we do in evaluation is to increase our death perception. How deep can you go on an issue? And sometimes going too deep means going simple. It's the so obvious, so easy question you face, but you're trying to complicate too much. So I'm going to show some complication here, but I'm more on the side of making simple. You saw that many of the evaluations that Luis did. I participated with them, but mine come from really trying to do right and making wrong. I started in medicine in 1981, and my first public health job was actually to evaluate a maternal child health care program in a big suburb of Recife, Casa Amarela. At that point in time, had close to 200,000 people. So my design, that he was an evaluator, was actually my thesis at London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and he was my second mentor at that point. He forgot. He doesn't even remember. That's called aging, both of us. Okay. So, but in that thing, it was pretty obvious that the most important thing was the simple. It was very simple, actually. I'm not going to go back there. So we're going to see some things. If I can discuss with you the first slide, my presentation is done. The others just to, this is part of a series of lectures that I gave on Monday. To many, they are here. And this is just the first part that just amplify the first topic so we can discuss, hopefully, for 10 minutes. Issues in the evaluation of healthcare programs. So what's the first statement I made? The evaluation framework of an existing health promotion program is different from that of developing a new program. What do I mean by that? I'm trying to say there's a fundamental difference in evaluating an existing program in public health and to evaluate a new intervention that you want to create, right? Usually the new intervention comes from people like me and Luis playing God at the university, a researcher, right? We're trying to develop something new or adapt from the English folks because they are smarter, so we adapt from them. We adapt to our reality, we make it work, right? So that's intervention research or research, or people can call impact evaluation. There's a lot of emphasis in impact evaluation. We're going to get to that point later. On the other hand, most programs in public health are not designed by researchers. They're created by necessity, by political will, and by decision. When I was the state epidemiologist in the state of Missouri back 23 years ago, I realized that one of the greatest programs we had at that point in time existed because a president of the United States had a wife that had breast cancer, and he said, damn it, I want to create a cancer program. And he did. But there was no scientific need, there was no political need in terms of finding what the population actually needed. And when I did my own evaluation in the state of Missouri at that point, I realized this program was not priority for the state, based on my best sense. I'm not going to go into that assessment, because it's part of program evaluation, community health assessment. But to show to you how different the two paradigms is. One developed by scientists, the other one developed by policymakers or public health people. And sometimes there's a good combination of both. When they both work together, and more important, work with the community so that we have sustainability. I'll get to that point later. Interesting enough, most published health promotion program or intervention evaluations are impact evaluation of a new program. Why? Because they are made by researchers, implemented by researchers. So what's the point? Can I go from assistant professor to associate professor and to full professor in America without publication? No. So researchers, if you give a carpenter a hammer and a pin, that's all he's going to do, right? So researcher needs to publish. And most of the publications come out of complex evaluation, impact evaluation. So main message to people in public health, that is not that important. Impact evaluation, I'm going to show a lot of design, wedge design, randomized trial, experiment of this, experiment of that. I can show all of that, and that's what I do, actually. I make a living out of that, but it's not the most important thing. An evaluation of public health program is understanding the community that you serve. One. The second most important thing is having them voicing with you what they accept as the ideal intervention for them. So when I became the director of the Center for Disease Control Prevention Research Center, I demanded community-based participatory research. And things start working. Because in my experience in communities in Recife, if you do not involve the community, you have no sustainability. It's that simple. You see that I'm saying, the cows jumping? People complicate. They see a white, oh, let's do impact evaluation. And they forgot to ask, what do you need? Okay? There are methods to do this. I'm going to cover a little bit of that. So most published evaluations, unfortunately, are impact evaluations, which are very complex. I showed an example here of a wedge design with rollout intervention so that everybody in the end have the intervention. And there are 20 different ways to do that. Each one of them calculate a variance differently. The variance for the estimate of the effect of the intervention on the outcome of interest. Okay, so that's mathematically complex. So we create so much complication, we forgot the basics. That's my point here today. Health promotion evaluation for the purpose of dissemination and implementation, it's a complete overlooked area for many years. Luckily, our colleague, collaborator with Luis and I, Ross Brown, has hammered this issue for 10 years now in a very scientific way. And guess what? The impact evaluation design, those complex design, are pretty appropriate to do dissemination implementation research. But they need some fine-tuning. They need some structuring. And that's what we're going to do about the hybrid design. I may not get there because we'll be talking, and I want you to ask me questions. What's the next truth about health program evaluation, especially health promotion evaluation? The rate of translation of research into practice has been inefficient and disappointing. Do we all agree with me or not? I can read 200 papers like I did recently to do a meta-analysis, and they all show incredible impact. The effect estimate, the delta, or the Cook's D, whatever you want to call it, incredible, powerful. None of them have turned into a public health program. Because when we try to take the research out of the picture, take the money out of the picture, take some of the technical stuff that you do in a study design, it doesn't work. Because it's artificial. So that's the other message. Not all great impact evaluation are going to be a perfect randomized design. Actually, I don't want a randomized design. I want a damn natural experiment. And I better use intervention created by the people for the people. The Academia da Cidade was invented by the people. It was not invented by scientists. Now it's in 1,000 cities because the Minister of Health wanted back then. It's being defunded to some extent, which is bad. But it was highly effective. What people in Brazil forgot, the message I got in those papers, we have 45 papers about those evaluations in Brazil. We could make a career. I could have made a career on that, right? The main message they are not following here. The main message is that every time you implement this program in another place, you need to evaluate again because every community is different. Come on, you cannot compare Recife, Boa Viagem Beach. That's where I was born. I surfed my whole life there. With Florianópolis in the winter. Can you go out and and be like on your T-shirt and a bunch of people doing exercise from 5 in the morning until 10 at night with a professionally supervised, with a physical education teacher, as training recreation, not just anything, training CPR to help if somebody have a heart attack. And then the physical environment is changed so people go in open space. No, we cannot. So those who adapted and say, okay, we do inside, some of the elements are still there, maybe. But bottom line is you need to evaluate all again. So, but the point I was trying to make on this is this point that we don't have much real translation because much of the evaluation is too technical. It's too much led by people like me and Luis and Leonora and Andrea. And in my opinion, in my experience, and I have data on this, doesn't work in the long run. Here and there, by chance, it's going to work. Health promotion programs are complex, requiring complex evaluation. So, did you see in any of our presentations, that's our own bias, did you see any qualitative research? Did you see any ethnographic studies here? Did you see any focus group? Did you? No. What else can you do? Anybody in anthropology here? Anybody in sociology here? Anybody from the arts? Yay. So evaluation of health promotion is evaluation of life. Life is complex. It cannot be unimodal. It cannot be one element. It has to be everything. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay? There are situations, for instance, the aging population in São Paulo. I haven't touched on this too much with Luis because we haven't had time. We only had fun of working, right? But we need to work different. We need to have time to discuss. It's a little different than the general population health promotion is taking, health promotion program. Why? It's an interface between a primary care program and the community program. So the primary care is the community. So therefore, that's why it's working. It's a very peculiar situation. So aging population, through a geriatric lens, he is a geriatrist, okay? And having an office or center, in this case, for many years, that is both a research center at the university, but is also a healthcare delivery office, right? You have clinic consult. Your aging patient is your patient and is also the community thing. That's the only example that I can think of in my experience of life that actually a top researcher and a top group of researchers doing something that actually works for the community. But that's a very special situation. The talking is not only about age, it's about health promotion. That's what you told me. And 90% of health promotion is not about aging people. It's not about longevity. It's about everybody, including children. Prevention of heart disease, cancer, diabetes is taught in the mother's womb. So that system that you mentioned is not going to work unless the gynecologist, the pediatrician is with me, and they are doing that from their primary care office, which you should think about it. So let's see what you mean by complex intervention. Many interactions between component with intervention control group. Is that true? Yes. The person who wrote this, they're a brilliant group of people, especially this guy, Craig, and I'm going to show his model. Large number of groups or organizational levels targeted by intervention, large number of variability of outcomes, degree of flexibility and tailor of the intervention permitted. All these things apply to health promotion, especially health promotion for preventing chronic diseases, okay? Or in our case, we're more interested not in preventing disease and not in preventing death. We are interested in keeping people functional. What is more important, you surviving age 100 or you being happy at age 60 and die at age 66? I want to be happy and die at 66, then live at 100 and not be happy, right? So if happiness is a reflection of my functionality, it's a reflection of my mental status, it's a reflection of the community I have, that's what I want. So we need to change again in epidemiology, start worrying too much about death and morbidity, focus on quality of life, focus on happiness. I like the guy in Bhutan. He is right, damn it. We got to be happy. So let's go to Carnival. It was fun that day. Luis took us to Daniela Mercury is coming to town, and it was wild, man. Mahaya was really excited there. Okay, so give me when it's about 20 minutes. I think I'm about 15 right now, so another 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. How can impact evaluation help us? I don't need to be obvious about that, but maybe it's a kind of a seminar. Let's talk about it. Remember, this was the most important thing, what I gave you before. I covered the whole lecture here. There are actually 60 slides that cover each of these points, but we don't have the time. It's a seminar, right? So this is just to remind us why we do evaluation. We need to know where we're coming from, where we're going, how fast we're going, right? That's what evaluation is all about. Don't be the cow creating a barrier and jumping on a white line. It was fun to watch them, but it's crazy. Oh, I'm going the way around, Luis. Also remember the program evaluation, that's what you asked me to talk about, health promotion program evaluation. Impact evaluation is just a subset of that. It may be extremely important, like our research that he showed here on cognitive improvement, on functional capacity, physical activity, not functional capacity yet. That's a holy grail. That's a $1 billion question. They are impact evaluation, okay? And I recommend Luis and all of us to help to do more evaluation about how they feel, how the aging individual in this community of Villa Clementino feels about us, about the program, feels about their community, feels about every sidewalk that impedes or doesn't impede them to walk, feels about what they take it for granted as good for them, is that what they want in the future? So that's a lot of questions, that social sphere, anthropological sphere. We need to add that, Luis, big time. Okay? Oh, God. It's going one of those slow. Also, if you're doing about research, I mix the two here. I mix a program evaluation with research. This part is very important for scientists and researchers, and they're forgetting that. Okay? Well, the thing that inform a formative evaluation for a program as opposed to develop a new intervention, as opposed to being a scientist developing a new intervention. Oh, I learned about this, I learned about that. Let's create something like we did here for physical activity or for mental health and cognition. Instead of just doing that as a scientist, let's say I'm a health program officer in the state of Pernambuco, right, or the city of Recife. The formative evaluation is going to be very important too. I need to look at the literature, I need to look at a lot of things, and I need to have a lot of qualitative research to see what things might work with this community. And I mentioned this in the lecture, and I'm going to mention again, marketeers know that for years. Okay? Everybody who's selling you the good and the bad, that you eat, that you dress, that you drive, that you smoke, that you don't, everything, they are good at that, better than we are. For 50 years, they know the truth. And they're using qualitative researchers. They're not using impact evaluation. They're using people who knows how to make you move that way or that way. So that's a key. For formative evaluation, it's very important, not only for scientists and scientifically develop new program or new intervention, but also for programmatic purposes. If you want to develop something in a community, do a formative evaluation. And I don't have the time to cover that as a whole lecture. And there's a little difference doing for a program that's an existing program or one that's really is going to be in practice into a new idea, a new intervention. So there are a little difference between the two, but the components are very similar. Skip that. This is a very simplistic way of looking in program evaluation. And actually my way, this is in a book we wrote for public health practice, a book on statistics in public health. So I had a few chapters there. So this, but it's very practical and very simple. So if you think about program evaluation, you cannot separate program evaluation from the program, from the prioritization process, from the planning, from the assessment of the needs, and for the continuity of that. You see that all linked up? They go and circle back. Every one of those circle back. How do I know that? Let me show you. What about this model here? That's a program evaluation by Ross Brownson and the group. I have the pleasure to be working with each one of those here. We are both, all of us were faculty at the Department of Community Health and Epidemiology at the School of Public Health in St. Louis 20 years ago. So this is a team. We're still working a lot of collaboration. We brought them to collaborate with Unifesp and those projects to evaluate physical activity programs all over Brazil. Okay? But here you can see something much more interesting, much more comprehensive for program evaluation. You can see that assess the community needs is critical. That's the issue of focus of the whole evaluation. And then you have the to quantify the issue. First you assess, what's the issue? Let's quantify in a way that people understand in different ways. For policymaker, for the community person, for the lay person, for the doctor, for the pharmacist, for the lab person, from whoever. You need to have different ways of simplify that information. That's quantify. Develop a concise statement. If you have a long list of things to give, politicians are not going to listen to you. Decision makers in a hierarchical way in programs in public health at the city level, state level, federal level, regional level, they're not going to listen to you. You need to have a concise statement. Search and summarize scientific literature. This is a little bit like formative evaluation. There's more to it. Develop, prioritize program and policy option. And in here, there are many ways to do it. Stay away from death. Be modern. Use DALIs. Quality of life. Use the potential life lost. Or combine them all. Use the button. Let's try to use the button. Are you happy? Conduct action planning and so on and so forth. That's a model for real public health. So the Centers for Disease Control was after that. That's my other group that I worked for many years. And they developed this one. You see similarities. First of all, it's a circle, right? It's a circle. Because these things there's no starting and end. You can start anywhere. But I usually start here. Engage the stakeholders. Envolva sua community. Envolva as pessoas que se beneficiam do seu programa. Who benefits from the program? The people implementing it benefits the program. The patients, the community at large, the cousin, the doctor, the visitor, everybody benefits from the program. Everybody should benefit. So engage them to develop an evaluation process or program. So, what else can we say? Now, moving from programmatic, let's go scientific. Now I'm moving to academia again. So in academia, I promote this, which is the group that Craig in England has promoted for many years. If you want to really to develop a new intervention, identify the evidence base, identify developing theory. What's the theory behind that? Is that chronic care model by Wagner? Is that stage of change of Prochaska? Is that the theory of health belief? There are about 500 of those, by the way. Modeling process outcome. If you don't have one, create your own. I create a few. Feasibility, do in phases, do small projects. Don't start big. My recommendation for research, start small. We did here. We actually, it's by serendipity, we've done this here. We've done all of this. Start small, testing procedures, estimating recruitment and retention. What you need here, let's say you apply for a grant for the National Institute of Health. What's the trick? Right now I have a P30, which is a big grant, it's a center grant. I'm a PI with 3 other people who are in that publication 30 years ago with me, 25 years ago, okay? So the trick for them is that you need to show your concept. NIH now is like this. If you want to apply for a grant in research to develop anything new, it's like bankers. What banks do? They can lend you money, but you need to have money to be lended money, right? Otherwise, you cannot get money. So that's why you create special banks for the poor, which is a smart idea. But usually banks, they say, what do you have to offer? What's your counter offer? Meaning, do you have a house? Oh, well, you can get the money because they know they can take my house if I don't pay it. I'm writing down those little, right? Same thing. And I say, if you want to do it, do your little pilot, show me the direction of the association, show me some magnitude, publish that, get a lot of hearsay, and then maybe I'll be convinced. Because guess what? There are 1,000 people like you, and they are better than you. So we need to do that. Then you go evaluation, real evaluation. This is already evaluating, but it's more in a sense of feasibility, a pilot, showing the concept. You may not need to have power in your study. You may not, your confidence interval may include the no hypothesis of no association, no effect. Okay, but here you have to. And that's when you get your grants to do it. Assessing the effectiveness, understanding change process, assessing cost effectiveness. A lot of those evaluations are impact evaluations, folks. That's more scientific. And then you implement, disseminate, do a surveillance and monitor, create a surveillance monitor. You're already in the field of real work here, implementation. And then you go back and recycle because you may need to change. You may need to readapt the program to the So evaluation is happening throughout. And then you have your classic impact evaluations, right? Can I assign exposure? Blah, blah, blah. Randomized trials. And then you have your traditional cluster randomized. What I bring this is to let you know that's the end of it. I'm not going to go the whole lecture. What I bring this is, all of this is important. But if you don't go the basic well, it's not going to matter. Okay? And the basic well is understanding your community and going for something else. I like a lot to do, if I do a randomized trial, I like to mix them up. And I like to use some non-randomized designs for something that's already ongoing. So that gives me a little bit of the reality. These people here who do this type of study, like the World Bank, sometimes they adopt that. They like that too, but they may accept that. I was working with the World Bank for many years in Brazil. This type of design helps us to see what is actually already in place that is reasonable and is feasible and people accept it and it's working. Okay, so these are the non-randomized design or the quasi-experiment, but sometimes natural experiment. I'll finish by saying to you there are the other types of research design. This is very common now in America because it's going to that reality that the traditional research, what do you have in a randomized control trial? Control, the word control, right? So you control the intervention. You create incentive for people receiving the intervention. Everything is clean and organized. Everything works. Every instrument works. Have you seen a scale in research that weight to you? It's perfect, because if it's wrong, it's going to screw your analysis. Your power may depend on that damn scale. But in a health post, in a clinic, for God's sake, it's not going to work. I did an evaluation of mammographies in Missouri. Only 30% were actually working like they should at any given point in time. So we wonder. So pragmatic trials, read the 2 articles that we published. One of them is a pragmatic trial. You tell me which one is it. It's when you kind of accept a little bit of flexibility in how you design, how the numbers of subject in intervention are pulled in or left off. You know, so there's a lot of adaptability. If the editor is nice to you, you publish. If it's a pain in the neck guy, no. It's not going to be published sometime. But they're stupid because pragmatic trial brings the research closer to reality. It's a way of loosening up. So you can read about that too. And then finally, I do my pitch for these guys. That's what I like to do. And I can share with you some of the stuff that I've done with difference in difference type. And, you know, modification of the tradition, randomized, or doing enroll, no enroll, before, after control. These are very important, folks. People need to be taught those in schools of public health, schools of medicine, evaluation, you know. They need to know that. That's very important. So that's my pitch. I'll finish with this design to say this is the future. We have so much knowledge already that we need to disseminate, translate. There's a whole science around that. And the best paper to learn about that is this paper by Robin Brownson and the group. This is my group, too. This lady, Harry Joshua, that's the one that has with me the P30, the grant. Okay? We are colleagues for 20-some years. And Brownson and me and Luis have at least 20 publications together through the GEA project. Okay? So this is the future. You need to learn how to evaluate dissemination implementation science. I don't have the time to go about those hybrid design, but they are very important. So that's my pitch. I want questions. Thank you. 5 minutes, Luiz. Give me 5 minutes. Come on. Come on, André. Uma pergunta aí, vai. Come on, pessoal. Pergunta alguma coisa. Pergunta alguma coisa que aconteceu. Tá todo mundo envergonhado.
I don't know the exact name in English. It's a pesquisação. Pesquisação is when the researcher, it belongs to the group. It's inside the group. It's not out of to hear the community and to participate in the creation of a program. Or you use this methodology when the professional is inside the group, inside the community.
I'm not familiar with the term he uses, pesquisação, but we're very familiar with participatory research. Okay? It's a participatory research. There are many terminology. Best participatory research is the orçamento participativo da cidade do Recife. For 40 anos. Started with a prefeito Bione. It's not with a traditional Democrat in the time of dictatorship. Okay? So if you do a participatory research, you get a lot more in the implementation of your intervention. You got more buy-in of the community. I promise you that. We have some. Actually, I put a paper in that I wrote about participatory research. Dr. Farid from Yale, and you can read a little bit about that. Let me ask one question.
Yeah, no, sure. In this particular case, you can do it in Portuguese.
Ok. Em português? Eu estava só pensando, porque você mencionou, né, a questão da pesquisa, ele já falou da participação, mas essa avaliação ela tem uma coisa bem mais quantitativa, né? De que forma você poderia especificar como que você fez essa pesquisa qualitativa, além dessa questão da participação? Foi em termos de entrevistas? Como que foi feito? Você poderia dar um pouco mais sobre esses highlights? Como é que poderia ser?
Yes. Eu vou dar um exemplo de como a pesquisa qualitativa foi implementada. Na minha experiência, em 1997, no estado de Missouri, a gente desenvolveu uma nova intervenção para atividade física em uma comunidade chamada South East Missouri. It's called the Boot Hill. It's a region que parece uma bota, né? Boot Hill. E essa comunidade é rural, em uma predominância de pessoas de origem africana muito grande e muito ignorante. E diabetes lá é um negócio assim absurdo. Então a gente desenvolveu uma atividade, tá certo? E eu estava preocupado, porque era uma atividade física que requeria uma mudança environmental, né, física do espaço, entendeu? Mas eu sentia que tinha outras barreiras, não era só não ter o espaço, que foi uma avaliação inicial na cidade, tá certo? Então eu pedi ao antropologia, do Departamento de Antropologia da Universidade fazer um estudo para mim. Eles fizeram. Eu vou só simplificar o estudo para dizer a você o que foi o resultado. O resultado é que a maioria absoluta das pessoas, não todas, de raça negra naquela região, não acreditava, não confiava em nenhum profissional de saúde que fosse branco. Já começou o problema, né? Concorda? Veja bem. A outra, ele não acreditava que diabetes na velhice é uma doença. Sabe? Todo mundo tem sugar. Everybody has sugar, my friend. Porque todo mundo tem a prevalência tão alta que ele já achava que era normal. Então veja como é importante e qualitativo. Se eu não tivesse essa informação, como é que a gente podia avançar? Como é que a gente não usa antropólogo, sociologia, avaliação técnica? É um absurdo, mas é isso.
One last question.
Eu vou falar em português porque a pergunta é grande. Eu acredito bastante que a gente precisa rapidamente trabalhar com a questão de avaliar a sustentabilidade, a implementação de tudo que a gente estuda na prática. Mas eu tenho uma grande dúvida, e essa é a minha pergunta para você. Como que fica o financiamento para fazer estudos de implementação e de manutenção da intervenção na rede fora? Porque aqui no Brasil eu acho que a gente ainda não tem suporte financeiro das agências de fomento para fazer isso.
Eu não estou morando aqui há 30 anos, que é difícil entender onde é que estamos. Mas, na minha experiência na época...
Eu quero saber a sua experiência fora.
Eu vou dar uma experiência na época já. Eu fui médico de atenção primária e criei muitos programas na minha cabeça lá. Naquela época, eu consegui convencer os prefeitos de Recife que 10% dos recursos para a unidade de saúde devia ser dedicado à avaliação. E acredite se quiser, para sentar com um dirigente máximo e ter a conversa, os caras ficaram convencidos, autorizaram a Secretaria de Saúde, eu sempre tinha 10% para avaliação. Não, eu sei que isso é uma negociação individual, mas eu acredito que muitas esferas de governo, eles sabem que tem que avaliar o programa. O que acontece é que as pessoas usam, ninguém gosta de avaliação, eles não vão justificar force e digam, olha, isso é técnico, o mundo inteiro faz isso. O Ministério está recebendo, agora nem tanto, não está recebendo tantos milhões do Banco Mundial, o Banco Mundial exige 10% mínimo para você dedicar à avaliação. Então o recurso tem que ter, você não pode dirigir tapando o olho. Então você tem que saber de onde você vem, para onde você está indo, quanto rápido você está indo, e quem está indo comigo, e quantas pessoas eu não matei.
Peraí. Tem que gravar e be short.
A A minha questão não é nem em relação a avaliar o programa, né, porque isso já é o final, né, quando você já tem o programa implementado. A minha questão é como implementar, como que você efetivamente consegue recursos e da onde vocês lá fora conseguem recursos para poder implementar, fazer isso chegar nas pessoas, porque não chega, para nos papers. A gente sabe que para nos papers, né? Isso.
Porque a pergunta dela tem dois ângulos que podem ser confusos e eu quero esclarecer uma coisa importante aqui. A avaliação não é um ponto no tempo. A avaliação é sempre, tá certo? Então, a implementação, avaliar, monitorar os processos, é a coisa. Eu não tive chance de mostrar a você. É aquilo que eu falo. O mais importante é a comunidade, o que eles querem, mas também os processos. Se o seu programa, o processo realmente não está funcionando bem, não vai funcionar. Isso é um outro assunto que eu queria endereçar na sua pergunta. Agora, como sai da intervenção do papel para a prática, tá certo? Aí vai depender muito do teu processo decisório a nível de governo. Nos estados americanos, cada um é independente. No nosso estado, a gente criou a cultura e a mentalidade de evidence-based public health. Então, já tinha essa mentalidade, mas é uma coisa que você está certo, é um processo mais político do que é científico, tá certo? Mas se você consegue atrair, o que é que a gente fez na Escola de Saúde Pública? De propósito, on purpose, nós puxamos as pessoas da prática para a Escola de Saúde Pública. Então, metade dos nossos professores eram pessoas que trabalhavam, que nunca ensinaram nada, tinham mestrado ou tinham doutorado. Então, a gente ficou conhecido com uma história que se chama Applied Public Health Program, Unifesp, porque a gente tinha essa conotação. Então, a gente conseguia fazer, por exemplo, o planejamento estratégico do Departamento de Saúde era feito junto com os professores da Escola de Saúde Pública. Aí a faca é o quê? Você toma um cara, toma 2 biritas, aí sai tudo.
Professor Eduardo. Hã? Curtinha.
Eu também vou falar em português. Muito obrigada. Acho que foi uma bela conferência. Eu fiquei muito alegre, porque eu sou da área da política, planejamento e gestão em saúde, é a área que a gente pesquisa junto do Programa de Saúde Coletiva. E nós tivemos um grande aprendizado, particularmente há uns 6 anos atrás, onde a gente começou a trazer para as nossas pesquisas o que os usuários ou os pacientes usavam e falavam. E isso nos deslocou. Todas as nossas verdades da saúde pública, a partir do agir dessas pessoas, seja nos programas, seja nas ações, no acesso aos serviços, como eles veem a internação, o momento de internar no hospital, nos modificou. Então, nós somos muito cheios de verdades, às vezes, dentro da universidade, e a gente precisa se abrir, e acho interessante você trazer, então, a importância, inclusive, da pesquisa qualitativa, porque a gente tem trabalhado muito com histórias de vida, depoimentos e tal. Então, muito obrigada. E o segundo ponto, eu queria só relembrar que, no Brasil, também a gente tem algumas políticas de pesquisa para os serviços. O PPSUS é um exemplo. O Luiz já foi pesquisador do PPSUS, onde você faz pesquisas para a própria aplicação, junto com os atores, junto aí também com o governo e tal. Então, muito obrigado. É um belo encontro. Tá? Obrigada.
Bem lembrado. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you very much.